Are you struggling to come up with original content week in and week out? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients, let them talk about what they care about most, and never run out of content ideas again. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome to Experiments, your new podcast series about quick and actionable marketing wins from marketing leaders who have done them. I'm David Kelly, a marketing and growth consultant for small businesses, and today I have world-class marketer Nathan Cavicchi. Nathan is the marketing manager for demand generation at PrecisionHawk, a company that is the global leader in developing and integrating commercial drone technology, which is a super hot space right now. Nathan is a really fascinating marketer who actually gets results while not treating customers like garbage. Imagine that. Tough to find marketers who drive results and treat customers well. In today's episode, you'll specifically learn 3 key things. First, how you can start a successful business with only $5,000. We share the steps we would take immediately to get a successful company going for that amount of money. Second, Nathan's favorite marketing channels. And third, the importance of treating your customers with respect, which actually leads to better results. Enjoy the episode. All right. Well, first thing I want to talk to you about, Nathan, is analytical marketing. So before this started, you and I were just talking about marketing in general. And what I think is really interesting is something you brought up where marketers don't get their hands dirty. So how do you view marketing? Like, what is marketing to you?
Well, I can start with, we all watched Mad Men a few years back. That's not marketing anymore. We're sitting around deciding what's going to go on a wall somewhere or what slogan is going to say something. That is part of a little corner over there. But we've gotten so much better. I view marketing as a numbers game, like anything else. You can optimize for KPIs or key performance indicators all the way in marketing like you can in sales and finance or even in, grocery store or whatever. It's all the same. So by doing that, I see marketing as a growing chain. What I mean by that is when a company is small, you have 1 or 2 links. You have 1 or 2 optimization points you can go for. And it's worthless to go beyond that. But as you grow, those links get longer and longer. And a good example is, so when I started at PrecisionHawk, where I'm at now, my optimization was, let's just get more leads. Let's just get more names, people talking to us. And so we grow the name base, and, we can be clean. And then as we've gone over time, we started targeting. We learned from those names who would buy from us. And so we just target our marketing. Now I'm looking forward into 2020. I've already talked to my C-suite about this. Marketing is moving heavier into support, because as you bring in the big clients, you need to keep those clients happy. So again, the marketing chain gets longer. There's more links, and then each link is an optimization point. And that's how how I view marketing.
So what's really interesting about what you said too, and I feel like this is a good lesson for anyone listening, and even for myself, because I do this at times, marketing a lot of times tries to do too much at any one given time. So the way I see it is very similar to what you said, where like people will come to me and they'll be like, I want to grow my business. And it's like, okay, like, what do you want to do? And they're like, well, I've heard of SEO and like ads and all this stuff. And they want like the A to Z solution right out the gate. But really, I think the more structured analytical approach to marketing, where it's like, okay, first we need to generate leads. And even before that, we need to understand like what leads look like for us. And then after we generate leads, we learn like about conversion funnels. And then we learn about our best channels and our mediums. And then we learn about, as you said, support, which I think is going to be huge. So it's really interesting to me to talk about marketing and make sure that people understand the chain of events and the order of command.
Correct. And I actually link very heavily to Moz, Rand Fishman, or whatever he always talks about 10x content. I will beat that door down over and over and over again. I've worked for a company, I had a CEO at a company who was very much about the quantity of content. I want to see this many deliverables, like shiny objects, per week or per month. But we had no pickup on it. We'd have a webinar that no one cared about. We'd have 10 people there. So where I'm at now, like we have a webinar and we have something cool to say, and we'll have hundreds of people show up. It's not because we're a better company. It's because we're actually giving valuable content. We wrote an advanced sensor campaign content piece, and it's evergreen on our website. Like literally, it's SEO, SEM. People will forward the email to their buddies. Like it's got the information they need in it, and we keep it up to date. Like we worked on a piece that people were interested in. That was literally from me analyzing Hotjar click patterns on a website. And we realized that they were most interested in these sensor packages: LiDAR, 5-band, 3-band, multispectral. And that's what people want to know about. So we gave them what they needed and taught them, because we have the experts in-house. I literally worked with the guy who wrote the book on LiDAR, So
Dude,
who else do we act for good information?
That is incredible. That's incredible. And what that also reminds me of is, like, as I think about marketing, and it sounds like you're similar, a lot of people just believe in like these vanity metrics, right? And I think that's okay to an extent. Like, I just think we need to define whether we care about results or vanity. So I know people that are like, listen, I just want to grow this thing and it's like a fun side hobby for me. And I don't really care if the channels I'm working on are that successful or not. Like, I just want to learn this stuff and kind of do it. And it's like, okay, let's define that for what it is. What I think the larger mistake is people are like, I want to do this channel because I read about it on, I don't know, Tech Meme or TechCrunch or something. And they don't understand the implications of trying a new channel. They don't understand what success looks like for that new channel. Or they just want things that get views, but without conversions, right? So we are so methodical at our company, and I know that you guys are too, by the sounds of it, that what we do when we want to drive results actually gets results. And we're very objective and we're very analytically minded in the sense of what we do needs to get results. Otherwise, we kill it and we move on to a new channel. And I think it's very important for people to understand, why am I doing what I'm doing? If it's just for vanity and just for fun, cool, I'll keep that in that bucket. But if I actually care about growing my business, I need to be hyper focused on generating those results and moving on when results aren't happening, or adjusting when results aren't happening.
And also what you're tracking. So one of my rules of thumb that I have preached, because I've made a mistake on the other end of it, a small team can really only optimize for 4 KPIs.
Interesting.
I find it goes to shit. So the question comes down to then, why should we report on more than 4 KPIs? If we can't make a change that will move the needle to make us more money, increase conversion rate, make our customers stay with us longer, then why report and track those things if it takes extra effort? So by minimizing the reporting time to things that we can actually change, and those 4 things can change over time. Once you've got landing page conversion rates up, you can forget about that for a while. You know what I mean? You don't have to keep going into it, but only 4. And so by doing that, you're able to move that needle big time. Speaking of landing page conversion optimization, that one alone, people forget so often. I brought it a 0.02% to 6%. And that alone, again, focus on a single thing, like you said, hyper-focused, and that will move that needle for the company. And that works in the entire marketing department, and honestly, in the entire company, Right now, sales on increasing contact to touch time. So we started tracking how long it takes from when someone hits us up and then we contact them back. And the numbers are abysmal. But when you take and see which sales rep has the shortest contact time, she also has the best sales record right now too. So it's correlation, causation. We're going to find out. We're looking at that. But again, a single thing that you can optimize on, or no more than 4, and you can actually move that needle.
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. The 0.2 to 6%, by the way, that's just bonkers. What were the factors in getting the conversion rate that much higher on a landing page?
First and foremost, you have to remove your heart from the entire thing. You can't have an emotional dip, and no one on your team can. Because at that point, what you're doing is you're just creating things that you feel that are good. And often you're not your target audience. So that was
great point.
We had to remove that away from it. Second, we had to just try some random different stuff. And what ended up happening was, the way he did it was twofold. One, I built a system that loosely identified what part of the buyer journey someone was in. And I actually hate the buyer journey, but it worked for this one. So I look at it more like, hey, if they're tire kicking, if they know a bit about, want to learn some more, or they're ready to buy. And those are my 3 spots. And then I assign to that what I call small, medium, large. So small is click here now. We're going to do this cool thing. Medium is this is the value prop we're going to give you in a 600 words or less. Large is here's an essay, white paper you can really dig into. And I basically segmented those landing experiences based on what segment I thought they were in. That was first and foremost. We actually built 3 different systems instead of one off the same keyword and whatnot. And then from there, little things like button placement, we had to add some new colors to the portfolio. Shortening things was our biggest thing. So walls of text never converted. And then changing imagery to have faces on it, more people involved. Those things were pretty much what brought the needle over.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And then going back to the KPI thing, and it ties into what you just mentioned too, with being very methodical with the approach. So only 4 KPIs. That makes a lot of sense to me. I haven't heard that number, but very important to emphasize. And I've noticed this in business too. It's like trying to do too much, right? Yeah. So to your point, a thing that executives love to see, and I actually had an executive give a counter to this recently, which was very refreshing. But one of the executives brought up the point, hey, like maybe we should do like this KPI dashboard and start putting all these metrics on the dashboard. And then the other executive brought up a really good point. He's like, hey, I noticed when we do KPI tracking to the level of depth that you're talking about, it actually distracts people from doing the work because they're so obsessed with tracking properly. They're so obsessed with putting all the data in the spreadsheet, and it slows them down. So like, let's find a happy medium. And to your point of 4 KPIs, that makes a ton of sense. Super interesting.
Oh yeah, I've been on the other side of it. Like, so I was at a certain company. I won't name names, and they were very,
sure.
very metrics driven, and I appreciate that. The problem was that I was literally in a weekly meeting with the C-suite giving conversion rates on every channel. It was insane, and I added the hours up, and I found that we were spending over 40 hours as a team per week, of a team of 6, 40 hours per week just reporting. And
wow.
I challenge again, like you mentioned, I challenge back, is the juice worth the squeeze?
That's crazy.
All of those things. So again, at PrecisionHawk, I will say that I've had free reign to build my marketing empire. I was the first hire after the VP who's been there forever. And she allowed me just to go. And the first thing I told her was, we're not going to buy lists. We're not going to spam people. And we're also going to track only the things that matter until we can track more. And she's like, high five, let's do it. And we've done that, and we've grown our list. We had 6,000 when I started. We have over 100,000 now. I vet that every 6 months. Like literally, if you bounce, unsubscribe, email me back saying, I don't want this. I would delete all your stuff and blacklist you so we don't add you back on there. If you're inactive for 18 months, I also remove you because I don't want to annoy people. I only want people that want my stuff to want it.
Yep.
And that's my goal.
I love that. So growing as quickly as you grew the PrecisionHawk team, super fascinating. And the product, super fascinating. What were some of the earlier channels that you were focusing on? And how did you grow some of those earlier channels outside of landing pages?
I mean, I always start with my bread and butter that I know. Organic SEO, good content, kiss, kiss. And also, I cut out Twitter. Twitter doesn't convert. I'm sorry. I'll throw it out there. Unless you're selling a product or a break fix, Twitter does not convert into dollars. So we cut all spending out of Twitter. I focused on PPC regionally. Basically, they were going too international, too broad. And then I also started cutting spend in Q4 for any kind of paid stuff for drones because everyone's buying a drone for their kid, and that's not my market. So like looking at seasonality, like with the agriculture seasons and different, they basically was looking at overarching trends outside, allow my PPC to get more efficient. And then it took us about 3 months, in my opinion, to ramp up that organic SEO to really get that engine going and writing content that's really useful and making it easily accessible. And then we also acquired 4 companies, which also helped.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't very big companies, but they had, that was, again, good buzz. We've got some really big stuff going on. And so when you're talking about cool stuff, you're able to just get more people interested. Again, we hired the guy who wrote the book on LiDAR. And so, he has a following there. We, showcase that. We've created pieces of content that aren't selling. They're not trying to sell something. And everything is written as like a campaign derivative. So you have a master piece with 1 to 20 pieces that go with it. So you might have a solution brief with a case study and 4 infographics, blog posts, a one-sheeter for a conference, etc. And like just allowing all that just kind of keeps the machine going. But those are the pieces that we use to do that. Plus, before, when I got there was no tracking of it. So they didn't even know what they had. So I actually put in HubSpot. I'm a huge fan of HubSpot. And I built that from ground up. We put in Salesforce later on. I linked all those together and then started building, again, identify and optimize for no more than 4 KPIs. And then that's what we've done.
I love that. What would you suggest? Let's say like a small business owner is listening to this, or a marketer trying to grow a early stage startup. What would you suggest for someone starting in those early stages? Both marketing channels, general approach, anything that comes to mind with how to grow business from a marketing perspective?
Well, it's twofold. One, like you mentioned earlier, it's good to keep reading all the stuff, all the new stuff you're hearing about. But don't implement it because you've heard about it. That's the thing. Define where you are. Are you B2B? Are you B2C? There are 2 different kinds of marketing. Are you national? Are you local? Again, different kinds of marketing. Once you've defined the segment that you're in, that's where you dig and read. And the thing is, look for good companies that talk about it. I start at the SEO group people because that's where I started out at. I find that they're the marketer group that seems to be doing good stuff. But focus on giving a solution, not selling your product. Even if your product is selling cowboy boots, which I've marketed cowboy boots before. What am I giving you different than going to Walmart buying a pair of cowboy boots? Are they a custom set? Can you get this thing for the school you go to? Like, what is your differentiator? To define those things first before you waste any of your freaking time on any of the other more advanced stuff.
Yes.
Also, start SEO and start PPC at the exact same time and start small. Put $100 in a month if you need to. Maybe if you're not doing PPC, Facebook ads work well too. I've had multiple friends that have done well with little stores just on Facebook ads, selling into a niche market. Anything you can define and find a niche into, you can make money in. And so those are the kind of things I'd say you start at. And then, like you say, the chain gets bigger as you go. So when you have a team of 30 people, you're going to market differently. When you have a team of 100 people, it's going to change. And again, how big your customer base is. And then, aim to delight. Not aim to, like, we're not running a funnel system anymore. The more emails we send does not create more conversions. I'm sorry. Email fatigue's a thing, Cold calling people does not create conversion, just annoys them. So people, we know these things. It's not 1994 anymore. We're not, boiler room selling, BS stock. So that's the angle you got to come from. And if you treat your customers with respect, I'm not saying treat them, but actually feel like you actually respect them, you will succeed if your product is good enough.
Yep. 100% agree. What I really enjoyed about what you said, two things stuck out to me. The first is $100 for Facebook ads a month or Google ads a month is not a lot. And a lot of people think about PPC and they're like, oh my God, I'm a small business with super low margins. I'm bootstrapped. I just can't afford it. And it's like, dude, you go out to dinner or get like, I don't know, drinks for $100 a month. Like everyone does that, right?
Yep.
Everyone can find $100 a month by cutting back in some area of their life to try that out. So very, very doable. The other thing I think is really interesting about what you mentioned is just how to grow and how to focus on, let's say, like starting with very specific channels and smaller channels. And you and I talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but getting our hands dirty is really important, right? So trying these new channels. I remember we were trying to build one of our products, SendFox at Sumo Group, and it's like we started from zero. We had basically no budget, and partly what we wanted to do was grow the product. So we started getting our hands dirty. We started emailing friends. Hey, do you know anyone that would be interested? We started doing some referral type logic where at the bottom of all emails sent from users, there would be a little logo that displayed SendFox, and it helped us spiral the product. And we were able to do that because we charge, let's say, like 5x cheaper than other tools. So it doesn't need to be complicated, right? Like you don't need to spend a lot of money. Don't need to come up with these crazy ideas right out of the gate. Those channels come to you over time. Like you mentioned with PrecisionHawk, you're now getting into them in the success of the company that you now have. But I think a lot of people that start out are just like overwhelming themselves, man. It's crazy.
I completely agree. I mean, I have dealt with literally no budgets before, all the way into the millions and millions of dollars of budget. In the middle there somewhere. And then that's a good practice to go through. I mean, a lot of companies, especially starting out, even if you're a national or international company, you might do better just advertising in your backyard. Hey, that's cheaper, by the way, because it's harder for you to sell, as if you're in North Carolina, to sell to someone in California if you can, if it's a big enough product. But maybe if you're just advertising semi-locally, you can get in the car and drive over and close that sale if you had to. Think that way at the beginning. Get your hands dirty. When I worked for Blue House in Asheville, oftentimes I was running an SEO department. Oftentimes I would get in the car and drive across town with one of my sales reps to close a deal, because we have to do it. You're bootstrapping it. You got to make that money.
Yep. I totally agree. And then, so the last question I'll ask you, I think this is a fun question to end on, is let's say someone's starting a business tomorrow, and let's say it is cowboy boots. Let's say they have $5,000. They got like a nice gift from grandma or something like that. $5,000 to try to grow this business. What would be the order of things you would tell them to do with $5,000 trying to grow cowboy boots?
I would tell them to, build your website. You got to have a website.
Yep.
Spend money on a domain name. First off, that is the part that a lot of startups don't do. Make sure you have a good domain name. Try for .com, and you might have to spend some dollars on that. Avoid dashes. Make sure it's memorable. And figure out 5 things that you are an expert on.
Yeah.
Involving cowboy boots, and start blogging about that and writing about it on your webpage, on your website blog, and then socialize that organically through social media. And then that $100 on Facebook, etc., locally, work out from there. But also, you've got to swing back around, not just the marketing. Make sure your product has the differentiator, or figure out a way to market it a little bit different. The company I worked for example, their differentiator was they had a custom boot set for certain schools, certain colleges. So find a piece that is going to hook. Find that hook. And it might, I don't know what it is in each company. It might be that a certain kind of roper style boot is good for a certain group of people. Hyper focus on that and then work out. And that's why you keep your budgets down. For $5,000, you can probably do all that.
Dang. Dude, that was awesome. That's it. There you go. So we just told someone how to start a business immediately, and they're going to become millionaires. I think you deserve like a royalty kickback. So maybe they'll give you a royalty kickback and we'll go from there.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nathan. And we'll talk soon.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Experiments with Nathan Cavicchi. You can find Nathan at PrecisionHawk.com. Go say hello and check out his company. If you want more marketing tips and advice, make sure you subscribe to our podcast. Do it. I know you want to. And for more bite-sized marketing tips that you can read in under 5 minutes, check out my blog at dmkthinks.org. Thanks for joining. Until next time.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big 3, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.